Hey guys, welcome to Refresh Rewinds. I'm Christina, he's Aaron. Today we're watching 1961's Breakfast at Tiffany's.
Yeah, we had mentioned that we were going to watch this one about a month ago near your birthday and stuff, but life happens. We ended up going on vacation for a week and stuff, which was pretty cool. I don't know if you could see, like right behind me here, we found a cool, it's probably fallen over, but there's a Breakfast at Tiffany's little poster. It was pretty cool in a store in Sedona or...
No, in Phoenix, like outside of Phoenix.
Okay, so anyway, this is directed by, let's go ahead, this is also on our 100 movie poster scratch off, and it's going to be right there, and it says it's Blake Edwards.
Yes.
So, I've never seen this movie.
I haven't either.
So this is kind of, that's why I like this channel, because we could kind of experience something for the first time.
Yeah.
All I know is literally from that poster.
Yeah, I know a lot of black, a lot of pearls, a bun, of course. That's about it,
like,
though.
Who she is and what she does, I don't even know if her name is Tiffany in the movie.
I have no idea.
We asked a couple of friends of ours that have seen it. Mm-hmm. Don't tell us anything about it, but we also mix a drink with the movie.
Of course. And
so they said there is a lot of whiskey and a lot of bourbon, and so we're going to do that.
Yeah.
So we've got our bourbon here, our Wild Turkey. Who knows what they're drinking? Nobody really calls it anything. So we're going to do this.
I'm a little scared about this one, guys. Oh, geez, just half the bottle. Right.
Well, the movie's an hour and 55 minutes, so we're going to have a couple of these.
Great.
So I suppose without further ado, we're going to be right back because we're going to go watch 1961's Breakfast at Tiffany's.
See you guys in a little.
Hey, and I said, what about Breakfast at Tiffany's? She said, I think I remember the film, and as I recall, I think we both kind of liked it. And I said, well, that's the one thing we got.
Guys, we just finished watching Breakfast at Tiffany's. I'm so happy we watched this.
Yeah.
Like, so happy.
I haven't seen many movies from the 60s era.
Yeah.
50s especially.
Yeah.
Minus a handful of like Sean Connery, James Bond movies.
Wizard of Oz, obviously.
Well, yeah. But have to admit, it's my first Audrey Hepburn movie.
Mine too.
I've never seen a Marilyn Monroe.
That I've seen.
But I liked it. I liked it. I could see why. After we had finished, we looked up the accolades and like kind of who are these people and what did they become or where was this in their part of their career and stuff. Yeah. And you can see how that like kind of catapulted a lot of people.
Yeah.
And it looked good.
Yeah.
Sounded good. Well acted and stuff. But it was I was pleasantly surprised, obviously apprehensive about, going back in time that far, but it was really good.
I enjoyed it as well. I thought Audrey Hepburn was beautiful in the movie. She was a fantastic actress. I loved her throughout the entire thing. Yeah. And apparently this was like the pinnacle point of her career. It was at the height of it. So proud of her. She made $750,000 for this movie, which in 1961, like that's massive.
Well, she was the highest paid female actress.
Yes.
Right.
Which, bravo to you, girl. Like, loved it. So it opens up with her getting out of a cab on a very empty looking New York street.
Yeah.
Right in front of Tiffany's, grabbing her croissant and her coffee and just
having breakfast at Tiffany's.
Having breakfast at Tiffany's, literally. She looks beautiful. She's completely dolled up. She's in an evening gown. She has her pearls on, her diamonds, just looking breathtaking.
Yeah.
And then she heads home where she annoys her landlord constantly.
So the landlord situation or whatever, I'm sure nowadays has a lot of people up in arms. Landlord was played by Mickey Rooney, a well-known kind of a comedic actor. Mm-hmm. This is kind of described as a romantic comedy, and I guess the only comedy really comes from him.
From him mostly, yeah.
So she forgets her key and is trying to get into her apartment and stuff, and she rings his bell to have him open up the door and stuff, and he's just, every time, she's always annoying him, being loud, always forgetting her key.
Yeah.
And he keeps saying that he wants a picture from her.
Yeah.
So...
which we're not quite sure what that entailed at first.
Right.
But then we see that she has a new neighbor moving in.
Played by George Peppard.
Yes.
Who, I can't tell if he's 50 or 25.
No idea.
So
he looks fantastic though.
Yeah.
Who plays Paul in the movie.
AKA
Fred.
Fred.
Is who she keeps calling him.
Yeah.
But so he moves in and we see him with like a decorator person.
Yeah, he said that he's moving in, he's new to the building, and he's already got a decorator come in and did up the apartment for him. He ends up in her place first before he goes upstairs to his place, and he's like, oh, nice place or whatever.
Yes.
And it's small. And
because he rang her bell to get in because he didn't have the key.
Yeah, so a lot of keys missing.
Yeah. But I love when she answers the door. She's like half awake. She stumbles out of bed, puts on like this like t-shirt dress type thing.
Yeah, from
with like
front.
a men's. It looked like a men's dress shirt. Honestly,
yeah, it kind of reminds me of like she stayed the night after a party at a guy's place, but apparently people just leave stuff over.
Yeah.
And she also has earrings hanging from her.
No, they're earplugs.
Just they're earplugs, but it was
love
like
those
earrings hanging from it.
I love them. I'm like, I want a pair of those because you can't even tell when she answers the door. She has this fabulous face mask on top of her head. She has these earplugs in with their earrings, and she's like, what? I can't hear you. Like, you're not important enough for me to take these out.
Right.
Love it. And I love how frazzled she is throughout that entire scene. Like, she's rushing around trying to get ready for the day, and she's even asking him, like, hey, can you grab my alligator shoes out from under the bed?
A lot of trust in a brand new dude to walk into your apartment.
Tons, yeah.
So then you ultimately find out she's late. She's rushing around because she's late because she's going to Sing Sing, which is a prison or a jail, probably a prison of some sort, to meet with
Sally Tomato.
Sally Tomato, who is she realizes she knows he's mob connected.
Yeah, he's accused of being the mafia leader. And she's like, there's no way that he's the mafia leader. They have nothing on him.
Yeah.
But she gets paid $100 a week to go up there and get a weather forecast from him.
Yeah, she talks to him for an hour, gets paid, and relays the weather back to his lawyer.
Yeah.
And so that kind of sets off a couple of bells. We look at each other during that part and we're like, okay, obviously the weather is not what it is.
Yeah.
So it's got to be code for something.
Yeah. Obviously coming from somebody in prison, of course. But so we see them meet, and then she goes up the roof to escape one of her many suitors.
Right.
It seems like she's like a different one every single night.
Yeah, you kind of get the feeling that she's looking for someone special, somebody that can provide a good lifestyle for her. And
but with not very much commitment.
There's already been two guys quickly in the movie that are like, you owe me, I paid for this much money during your dinner and with your friends and this and that. So they're like, she's a young, attractive woman that was looking for something, and she decided, I don't want that guy.
Exactly.
And so she calls them rats or super rats. And so anyway, there's a guy in the apartment. She's escaping through the fire escape.
Yeah. And she goes up because she's like, well, I trust this guy, even though I just met him. And she sees that the decorator that she met earlier in the day is leaving money on the bedside table for him. And
he's passed out in bed, probably not clothed.
Yeah. But at least from the waist up, they don't show anything. So she sees that and ends up waking him up. He freaks out thinking that this girl is still in the apartment, his decorator. Yeah. And
she basically reassures him, no, she's gone now.
Yeah.
And then I think that's when it clicks that, like, they both are kind of doing the same thing.
Yeah.
There's money involved with how good this guy looks and what he's getting from this this older lady who basically is rich enough to put him up in an apartment,
furnish
and pay
it
for him.
Yeah.
And then what she's doing with trying to find basically a suitor for a good, fun lifestyle.
Yeah. But we find out that Paul is a writer. She looks at his typewriter and goes, well, you don't have any ribbon in the typewriter.
Yeah.
So
he did finish one book called 9 Lives.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But other than that, she goes, you look a lot like my brother Fred.
Yeah.
Who was 6'2" when she left home. And she mentions that she left home at 14.
And Fred is kind of slow.
Yes.
So he joined the army.
Because that would be the best decision for him. Which,
I'll
agree with that.
In 1960s, yeah, it's I guess right before Vietnam.
Yeah.
So.
So after that, she introduces us to her cat, who has no name.
Yeah.
She just calls him Cat.
Yeah. And likes to jump on people's shoulders.
Yeah.
Just randomly.
Randomly.
Yeah.
But she invites Paul to a party at her apartment, and it's crazy. The party's crazy. It's out of hand.
Yeah.
There's just all these people showing up. Her, manager, I guess.
Yeah, I guess
there?
he's kind of a, she's not really doing any work per se.
Yeah.
But he wants to get her into a legitimate, actress type of business and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And he mentions that he had found her while she was still living in, I guess, around Oklahoma, Texas area. And she had a strong accent, and she just had the knack for, he assumed she had the knack for acting, singing, something entertainment-wise, and gave her French lessons and just kind of gussied her up to where she can basically walk and talk and act like a socialite.
Yeah.
Which she pulls off.
Completely.
Yeah.
So they're having this party, and I found out after that party was kind of real. They let the alcohol flow during the whole thing. They were like, pop the champagne, let everybody drink. So they
run out of liquor, and another guy comes in.
Yeah.
And they're like, reinforcements are
Which
coming.
didn't know DoorDash happened in the 60s, by the way. Love it. But yeah, they were having a good time. I love all the little interactions that Paul is having with everybody.
Yeah, it was kind of choreographed how people are weaving in and out of such a small apartment packed with 40, 50 people.
Yeah.
And you kind of really meet the agent that is another girl chasing type of dude or whatever.
Yeah, looks like there's a couple other socialites in the same shoes that she's in.
Yeah,
Holly's in.
Yeah, it's like she's kind of got a group of girls, it seems like, that she may trust that are kind of searching for the same thing, and then a couple of guys that may be stepping out from a home life or something. But that's happening. And what else was I going to say about that one? Yeah, the only guy that kind of comes out of that is the agent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I love how Paul uses a glass and he puts it up against a girl's back to get her out of the way, and she's like, was that necessary?
I was going to remember what I was going to say. So, drinking wise, everybody's, been drinking and stuff. And there's another girl that is brought to the party that Holly knows. And she's drinking. Oh, yeah. And then, she ends up butting into a conversation, or Holly's getting her away from a conversation, and she just realizes that she's had too many. And Holly goes, timber! And she just
boom!
Flatlines onto the ground. That's my favorite line.
That was a fantastic part of the movie. I laughed pretty hard at that. But as the movie progresses, you can tell that Paul is
but in that particular part, that's when you get introduced to Jose, the Brazilian, well-to-do, I guess maybe future president or something. He was handsome, tall, dark, and handsome type of dude. And then
and the party gets shut down by the cops.
The other guy also comes in. I forget his name or whatever, but kind of short, pudgy, kind of like glasses and stuff. And she recognizes him as the 9th richest American, and she's going after him. Yeah. She doesn't want anything to do with the tall, dark, and handsome. She wants the short, fat, and ugly type of dude. And she meets both of them there, and ends up escaping with him before the cops come out. Yeah. And Jose is his name, and George end up hearing that the phone call comes in from the Mickey Rooney character, and he's like, I'm calling the cops finally and stuff because you guys are just too loud every freaking night.
Yeah.
So that's how that one ends.
Yeah. And so they escape out the bathroom window. Paul goes back up to his apartment, and Jose just leaves. Yeah. Which, and I love it because she's telling the cops, she's like, yeah, it's up there. Yeah. As if it's not her place.
Really, what are you going to do? I mean, everybody's of age and everybody, so what? It's adults drinking at a party. Yeah. Other than a noise complaint, nothing really comes of it. Yeah.
But as the movie progresses, we can see more and more that Paul is falling for her. He wants to take care of her. He wants to make sure that she's being safe, that she's just...
He's always there. He's like that consummate, like, friend zone.
Totally. Well, and she keeps calling him Fred.
Yeah.
Which is a little weird to me because I'm like, why would you fall for somebody that keeps calling you her brother's name? That's a little weird.
Well, but then you find out how much her brother means to her.
True. Very true. And then all of a sudden this Doc character comes in.
Yeah, initially, so George is up in his apartment and his friend, his mistress or whatever, who's footing the bill for everything, comes in, and she believes that he's hired from her husband to follow her to find out, hey, what the heck is going on? I think my wife is stepping out on me. And he goes, I'll go handle it. And he just kind of leads them on this like nice stroll through New York. Yeah. And probably ends up in Central Park or something.
It looks like an amphitheater or something.
Yeah. And this guy you end up finding out has a strong Southern accent. You're like,
he's from Tulip, Texas.
Yeah. And he goes, what do you want? And he goes, I want the girl. And you're like, And he shows a picture of him with Holly and George, really tall, 6'2" guy, and a couple other children. And he's like, how do you know her? And it's like, what? So that's when you find out that she kind of left this guy who he married her at 14 years old. And those are not her children, obviously. Those are like children that he might have had because he's an older guy. So, but she kind of was the mother to these children. We feel like, it never really is explained, but we feel like George and Holly probably were siblings in another horrible household. And
Fred.
Fred and Holly are actual siblings.
Yes.
She's older, he's younger.
Seemed like it.
Maybe.
Possibly.
So then, she goes, if I'm going to marry you and be a part of your household, he's coming with me. So that's where they had been.
And her name is also Lulu May.
Lulu May, I forget the last name, but most
Golightly. Yeah. She kept the last name, she just changed her first name.
Yeah. So that was kind of the first big twist, and you find out, and George's character is like, what's going on here, and so comes back later, but the Doc is eating from a Cracker Jack box, and George opens up the prize in the Cracker Jack box. I don't know if they still do that, but there was a ring in there. I don't know if it must have been made from a metal of some sort. Who knows? It's probably plastic nowadays and stuff. But he kind of holds on to it. Yeah,
and then eventually, him and Holly. Or no, they try to go to a train station because he wants to take Holly back home to Texas.
Yeah.
Because Fred is supposed to be getting out of the army and home in 4 months from the war. I don't know what, or I guess just out of the army? Not necessarily war, right?
He's just going to come back from overseas. They didn't really say what.
Yeah, they didn't say where he was at. But that he was supposed to be home in 4 months.
Yeah.
And so they go to the bus station. And she doesn't want to go. She's enjoying her life in New York. She explains to Paul that their marriage was annulled. And so she's like, I'm not
he just doesn't want to let go of it. He still feels like I'm part of the family. And Doc threatens her with telling George, like, hey, I got to tell him that you are abandoning him.
Yeah.
And she goes, do not do that.
And he might re-enlist.
Yeah, he's going to re-enlist. And just who knows where he's going to go after that. And she wants him just to be out and live with her and be in New York with her. And she's so content in doing that.
Yeah.
Once she finds the guy.
Yeah, exactly. So once she finds out once she decides that she's not going back with Doc, her and Paul have this whole day in New York City doing things that they've never done before.
Yeah.
And they take turns on what they've never done.
Yeah.
Because they pop the champagne, and he goes, I've never had champagne before breakfast. And that's when she comes up with the idea of, we're going to do this all day.
Yeah.
They end up going to Tiffany's, which is like her hands down favorite place.
Yeah. Well, what was her quote?
That she goes there whenever she has the mean reds, and that nothing can ever go wrong at Tiffany's.
Right.
And it just makes her feel good.
And it's a huge jewelry store.
Yes.
It was the flagship store at the time of Tiffany.
Okay.
So then it was, just cases and cases. They show a big wide angle of them coming through the front door, and there's just cases of like just expensive diamond stuff or whatever. And of course, they're both just struggling writer and just kind of searching for a guy. So they got like $10 and a $50 check in his pocket, and she didn't have any money.
Yeah.
So they eventually go in there and see if they could buy something from there for $10. And a guy was understanding, could have totally been a jerk.
Yeah.
And he shows them a silver telephone ring. I don't know.
It was like you would use it to turn the numbers
dial
on a rotary dial
telephone.
Oh, yeah.
And it was like $6 plus tax.
Yeah.
And so that's when it goes back to that Cracker Jack box ring. And they bring it out and they're like, look, if we could just maybe get an engraving on this, is there something you guys can do even though this was not purchased? and he appreciated that they held on to this Cracker Jack box ring. And you see them take it and
he picks it back up eventually from them. I love that idea. I think it's so cute and the fact that Tiffany's did that for them. Which I found out later that Tiffany's actually is normally closed on Sundays. Oh. They opened up specifically for the movie to film in there.
Oh, wow.
It was the first time in the 19th century that they had opened up on a Sunday.
Less customers, I guess. They would just assume.
Well, they didn't want a whole lot of people, I'm sure, extras in there. Just like staring at Audrey Hepburn.
They also, after that, they run to a 5 and dime store.
And steal a couple very creepy masks.
Yeah, she asked George, have you ever stolen anything?
Paul.
Well, God, why are you saying that?
Because George is his real name.
That's what I do. I remember real shit. So, Fred, Paul, he says he's never stolen anything. She said that she would, back in her old life, to get by and just get stuff that they didn't have. So they go through a couple things, and I don't know why a 5 and dime store, you see the prices, $1.70 something, 95 cents. There's security there, like hardcore New York mafia type, like all looking at everybody. Like, God forbid you lose 55 cents today. So they end up putting on these masks and just walking out. Yeah. And running into a cop immediately. And they go, ah! And the cop is like, you weirdos, So
it was fantastic. I loved it.
But I'm assuming that night was the first night they had been together.
I assume that
There's never really any connection in that way. She might have, again, just slept over there. Mm-hmm. But both masks were there in the morning for him, and she was gone.
Yeah. And that's when when he tells, because his mistress stops by, and that's when he tells her, like, that's it, I'm done, I don't want anything more to do with you.
He's head over heels in love with Holly.
Yes. Yeah. And Holly also does take him up to Sing Sing to meet up with Sally Tomato. And Sally then gives the forecast. We finally get to hear a forecast. Mm-hmm. And he says it's snow flurries in New Orleans. Yeah, and then they blow a whistle and everybody has to leave. Prisoners go back to their jail cells and all the guests go. Yeah. And she tells Fred, Paul, that's funny. Hasn't snowed in New Orleans in a million years. Yeah. And I'm sure he probably kind of caught on to what's going on, but yeah, she ends up passing it along. I totally thought for sure, like, snow flurries, like cocaine, something. I don't know. A little Scarface-esque. Yeah. So then after Paul tells his mistress, like, that's it, I'm done, I don't want anything to do with this anymore, he goes to Holly and tells her that he loves her and that he wants to be with her, and she's all like, no. Yeah. I don't want you. I'm going to marry Jose from because Brazil. She was going to marry the short little guy, and he ends up marrying
somebody else, but then she kind of didn't feel so bad about it because she ends up finding out that he owed $700,000, and so like he really wasn't rich as she hoped he would have been. So, but now, she gets the tall, dark, and handsome guy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So she starts kind of pursuing him, and he's head over heels. I wouldn't say in love, but he's totally infatuated with her and wants to move her to Brazil.
Yeah. And so it kind of jumps forward a couple months after that, where Paul has moved out of the building, and she wires him. Oh no, you know what we forgot? She finds out, she gets a telegram after coming home with Jose.
Well, that's...
it's before the couple months, sorry. She gets this telegram after a night out with Jose. And she reads it and immediately starts just trashing her entire apartment.
Paul is on his way up to his, and she sees them, says hi to them, realizes, I guess that's who she's going to be with. And then all of a sudden, just glass breaking and screaming, and he's like, "What the?"
And Jose grabs him and brings
Jose's
him
like,
in.
"Oh, she just read the telegram and she's gone crazy. Help her!" And he calms her down, gets her on the bed. She starts bawling, and he goes and talks to Jose, and he goes, "She just read the thing," and she he unfolds the crumpled telegram, and reads that Fred had come home from the war, and was involved in a accident. Outside his base in Kansas, and passed away.
Yeah.
And so that's why she's so distraught and everything.
Yeah.
And so he basically tells Jose, get in there. And
she's your problem now.
Yeah.
And so then once there's a couple month break in between, and she wires Paul. And he comes over to see her, and she's cooking for him. She tells him that she's moving to Rio, Brazil, to be with Jose. That she's leaving the next day. She's learning Portuguese. She's knitting
a sweater, it looks like.
Something. I have no idea what it is. There's no shape to it. It's loose. Honestly, it's terrible.
She says she wants to have like 9 Brazilian kids, and they're going to have dark skin and green eyes.
Yeah. And
she can't wait to bring them back to New York because it's so beautiful here. They go on a walk and everything.
Yeah. It's really crazy. And then they get back to their apartment and they go up to her place.
Well, doors are unlocked.
Oh, yes, that's right. The door was unlocked. So they didn't have to buzz anybody in. So they get up to her apartment and they're ambushed by 2 or 3 cops.
They slap cuffs on them really quick. The landlord is down in her apartment, and basically the cops had probably gone there, gotten buzzed in by this guy, and they're like, "Hey, we're looking for her," and he says, "Well, she's in this room or in this apartment," and she gets brought in, but doesn't seem too worried, and neither does he.
No, she seems to be like talking to the reporters, and she's real coy about it.
She's like, she's happy to. It's almost like being popped by TMZ.
Yeah,
and they're like, "Oh, hey, what's going on, guys?" And it's like, "Oh, okay."
Yeah, it was quite interesting. Yeah. But we find out that she's being arrested by the DEA in connection to Sally Tomato.
Yeah.
So I guess the snow flurries in Louisiana was probably some sort of drug.
It was drugs, yeah.
Yeah, that was being moved in by him. So I found that to be really interesting. And then she gets the telegram or a letter from Jose saying that she doesn't want to be with him anymore.
Yeah.
Or that he doesn't want to be with her, sorry.
Because of this like kind of black eye and checkered past, I can't be running for a president or having this high respectable status in my home country, and you bring all your baggage, I guess. And of course he's never even really proposed, so you're kind of like, is this for real?
Yeah.
And so she's missed out on 2 cash cows.
Yeah, pretty much.
And Paul is like, I'm still here.
Yeah.
Through all this thick and thin.
Yeah.
I'm still here.
Because he's in the cab with her. He has all of her stuff already. He's going to take her to a hotel because she's out on bail.
Cat's there.
Cat is there. And they're driving to the hotel so that way she can stay somewhere safe until it's time for the trial.
And she admits that she still does want to go to Brazil.
Yeah, she's still...
Basically just, I've never been there.
I have a ticket, why waste it?
You know, she's not really going to pursue looking after him or whatever, but she's just like...
Maybe I can find some other rich guy there.
She said that she wants a list of the top 50 richest Brazilians or something. So she still really hasn't learned her lesson.
No.
And so that's when the heart-to-heart happens. And Fred Paul is like...
Hey, just kind of really gives it to her. Like,
well, yeah, like you're going to keep running into yourself. You put yourself in a box. You're so afraid of being this wild thing.
And you don't want to be in a cage.
Yeah, you keep running away from people because... they have feelings and they want to be with you, and you feel like the ring may be locking you down, handcuffing you to a certain place and stuff, and it's not.
Yeah.
It's not. You're putting yourself in the box.
Yeah.
And it was like this really heartfelt thing, and she asked the cab driver to stop the cab.
Yeah.
And kicks out the cat.
Poor thing.
So we're looking at each other like, okay, Lady and the Tramp, like, screw this chick. So the cat, it's pouring rain in New York, just kicks it out the cab and everything, and then they go, luckily only about a block and a half or something.
Yeah.
And Paul wants to get out.
Yeah. So he pays So he pays the cab driver and he gets out and he starts walking back to find the cat. Because he's like...
And just kind of gives her the whole, you're not going anywhere.
Yeah.
You think you are, but you're not.
Yeah.
And... she sits there and that's, you know, just great acting on her part.
Oh my God, yeah.
Go without saying a word, you realize,
you see her face change.
Yeah, she's like, I have what I need here. I don't need to have money. Like what does that really do?
Yeah, exactly.
And she gets out of the cab, pouring rain. She runs back and sees Fred. He's trying to find the cat, and then she starts looking for the cat.
She finally finds him. She's loving on him, picks him up, and then she goes back to Paul, and she just embraces him, and they kiss. You finally see them kiss, and it's like they have their happily ever after, finally.
Hold on. So, like, this is the poster that we ended up getting. I was going to show you guys. So, of course, this is the iconic, you know, what she looks like, how everybody knows Audrey Hepburn and stuff. And then I realized that there's this here. I didn't know what the heck that was.
We thought it was Singing in the Rain.
Yeah, it's basically, they're not really raincoats. They're just kind of just...
trench coats.
Just overcoats and stuff like that. So that is like the last part of the movie. The cat there? I don't know if the cat's there. It might be there. But, yeah, now I know what the heck that means.
It's good to know.
Yeah.
But so they have this... finally, it seems like a happily ever after for her, finally, and that's where the movie ends.
Yeah. I heard there's a sequel, Breakfast at Tiffany's 2, and it's later on in the future, and robots come. Just kidding. But, yeah, I mean, it's a heartwarming movie.
Yeah.
It was pretty cool to see the two different characters go through so much.
And they found each other still.
Couple of twists that, I mean, it was pretty good.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. The song Moon River is throughout the entire movie. That ended up winning an Oscar for Best Original Song. Had no idea that was an original song for that movie.
Right.
And then I believe the, what was his name? Henry... Mancini won the Oscar also for, I guess, Best Musical Script for the movie, which is amazing. And Audrey Hepburn was nominated for an Oscar for her role.
It was Best Costume, Best Set Design. It was a whole bunch of different things.
I think there was 9 or 10 nominations for it, which is amazing. Also found out that song was specifically written for Audrey Hepburn because she couldn't really sing. She's not a trained singer.
Yeah.
So they kept it in 1 octave for her.
Yeah.
So I really like that they did that. And it's a beautiful song. I've heard it in a couple other things.
Yeah.
And it's just, as soon as I heard it, I was like, where do I know that from?
Yeah. But I thoroughly enjoyed it.
Yeah.
We covered the whole movie. If you haven't seen it, sorry, we spoiled the shit out of it. If you have, maybe watch it again. Enjoy a whiskey with it and try to remember it.
Yeah.
But overall, going back, I mean, you didn't have to have crazy special effects. It was just based on just the characters in the scene, in the moment, doing what they do.
Yeah.
And you got to respect, even newer movies without all the technology that we have. Those are the ones that end up finding their way to the podium at the awards ceremonies. So myself, I'd give it 8.5 wet kitty cats.
All right. Well, I gave it 8 pearls. Obviously, I like the pearls.
Okay.
Because diamonds are not for a woman until you're over 40 years old.
Yeah, you can't be young and have diamonds.
You can't be young and have diamonds. So
I think that wraps up Breakfast at Tiffany's pretty good.
I think so.
We're going to be deciding what we do next. I wish we knew, but we don't know. But we'll be picking something pretty soon. So until next time, guys, I'm Aaron.
I'm Christina.
And we'll see you next time.
Bye.